G'day everyone, if you're new here, my name's Sam and this is my little fluffy assistant pretzel. Thank you so much for turning on this video. Today's practice will be focused around a simple strength building routine. So there will be lots of movements pushing away from the floor, working to strengthen the chest, as well as some shoulder stabilization in there as well. It will be quite strong on the hands, so if you want to warm up the wrists, I'll pop a link for my wrist warm up video there in the corner. You can watch that and come on back. And when you're ready, as always, jump on the mat and we'll get right into it. Thank you so much. So we are going to begin today straight up in downward facing dog. We're spending a lot of time on the hands, so try and get comfortable with your hand position. Quite often you may hear the cue index fingers pointing forwards. That may work for you. You might prefer to turn the hands out so the index fingers are almost pointing towards the top corners of the mat. So as you find your downward facing dog, push firm through the hands till you feel the arms straighten, the elbows lock out, and find an element of the biceps wrapping forwards to the front of the room. To arrive, of course, you can move out through the legs if you feel that's necessary. Otherwise, maybe you can just find stillness there. You'll find a few breaths. Depending on how you're feeling today, you may like to push away from the floor a little so the shoulder blades elevate, or you may prefer to let the shoulders soften away from the ears. It's completely your choice. Take another breath here. From here, we'll shuffle the feet back slightly, maybe just one step, so we have a little more space. Take the feet a little wider. Then look forwards between the hands. We'll start to roll forwards towards a plank, so lift high up on the toes. As the shoulders start to roll over the wrists, we'll lean the chest out a little more, and then bend the elbows to take a push-up. The elbows will hug you nice and close towards the body. Then we'll push straight back up and come back to downward facing dog, sending the hips up and back. Try to keep the feet exactly where they are. We're going to do that total of 5 times, so we have 4 more. Breath together here first. Let it out. And then heels rise. We look forward, roll forwards, find the plank. From plank pose, chest leans out, bend the elbows, take that push up, elbows hug in nice and close. Press it straight back up and find downward facing dog. So we've done 2. We have 3 more to go. We'll flow with the breath. The inhale will roll us forwards via the plank. Let the exhale lower you down. Press back up on the 0 breath and find downward facing dog. 2 more like that. Inhale, we roll forward, slow down the breathing. Exhale, we'll lower and lift. And take it back to downward facing dog. So you can do the lowering, lifting, and moving back to downward facing dog all on the exhale. We'll do it one more time. So the inhale will roll us forwards. The exhale will lower, lift us, and take us back to downward facing dog. Once those arms and shoulders are nice and warm, now we shuffle the feet a little closer in our downward facing dog so that you feel the heels getting a little closer towards the floor. Then we'll keep the right hand where it is. Take the left hand back to see if you can catch hold of the outside of the right ankle. You'll feel the hips immediately fall to the right hand side of the room, so I encourage you to bend the left knee just so the hips move back towards center and look underneath your right armpit there. Just finding some comfort being on one hand here. Just letting that shoulder find its happy place, find its stability. Releasing that right leg, left hand will return, we'll swap. So right hand will reach back, catch hold of the outside of the left ankle. If you feel the hips jut out to the left hand side, bend the right knee, gaze under your left armpit. So a gentle twist, again to get comfortable on one arm, but also to stretch out through the outside of the hips as well there. As we come back to downward facing dog, we'll shuffle the feet back. Because we step them forward, the down dog is nice and short. We want it longer again, so step those feet back. Lots of space between them. We're going to roll forwards, find a plank position. Once we get there, keep everything else the same. Just pop up onto the left fingertips. You may feel the right shoulder start to depress and move down. Push away, try and stabilize through the belly, squeeze the glutes, and see if the left hand can just catch hold or gently touch the right shoulder there. Doing our best to keep the chest, belly, and the hips square to the floor. We'll be here for 7, 6, keep pushing through that right hand, 5, for 4, 3, 2, on 1, left hand down, pop up onto the right fingertips, push away from the floor with that left hand. Do your best to stabilize. When you're ready, right hand gently touches the left shoulder. Keep everything else as square as we can find it right now. We're here for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Right hand will ground. We'll lower the knees, sit the hips back towards the heels. Nice work. We get there. Hands interlaced behind the back. Elbows squeeze towards each other. Shoulder blades retract. Then we slide the hands down towards the feet to open up through the chest and the shoulders here. Now, depending on how much flexibility you have in the shoulders there, you may be able to take your hands away from your hips. You may feel a little more opening there. You may have the palms together. It could just be the fingertips. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you find is perfect for your body today. Take a full breath in. We'll mindfully start to release the hands. Set the hips above the knees about hip width distance apart. Work to reach your arms out in front of you to move towards Anahatasana, heart melting pose. Now, I always like to take time coming into this pose because it is quite strong through the shoulders. As the chest lowers down, if those shoulders feel tight, I encourage you to take the hands wide, maybe even gripping the corners of your mat and bending your elbows so that the chest can get a little lower towards the floor. If your shoulders feel quite happy and healthy today, take the hands nice and close. Try to keep the arms long and straight as you lower the chest down. Again, you can grip hold of that top edge of your mat if that's comfortable for you. So here we're finding an extension through the thoracic, that's a tough word, thoracic portion of our spine. We're also finding a strong flexion through the shoulder joint. So remember, try not to push it. It is quite a compromising position. If you're feeling any pain, you want to pull it back just a little. Take a full breath. And we'll let the chest rise. Shuffle the hands back towards you, feeling the elbows align underneath the shoulders. We'll press the palms together, doing our best to flex the muscles of the arms. So you want your biceps and your triceps to be active here. We are about to come into Dolphin Pose. So you could interlace the hands if you want to, but try not to let those palms come apart. Keep pushing the palms together, flexing the muscles of the arms, and driving the elbows into the floor. Feel a rounding through the upper back. Tuck the toes, let the hips rise up. So the goal here is to feel the head lifting away from the floor. Feel the chin drawing towards the chest, so the back of the neck is long. You can keep the gaze towards the toes. Have those feet about hip width distance, maybe with the heels hiding behind the balls of the feet, so letting the heels shuffle away from each other just a fraction. Keep checking in with your arms, make sure they're flexing, the palms pressing. Fingers can be interlaced or not, that's completely your call. Let's be here for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on 1. Look forwards, shuffle your feet back. We'll move towards a forearm plank. So we're not coming down just yet, we're still in the work. Keep pushing away from the floor, feel the shoulder blades draw away from one another. Crushing the palms together, flexing the muscles of the arms, using each exhale to draw that navel in, and keeping those glutes nice and firm. And together we'll be here for 10, for 9, 8, 7, 6, for 5, 4, 3, 2, the head on 1. Lower the knees, let the thighs descend. Let your chest rise. Shuffle the elbows out a little wider here. Push down through the tops of the feet. Feel the knees start to lift, and gently see if you can feel your shoulder blades descend, move down your back here. So here in the Sphinx Pose, if you feel quite comfortable and you feel you have some more space, you'd like some more opening, I encourage you to shuffle the hands a little wider here, then push through the palms to let the elbows rise off the mat. Now a few things can happen when we do this. We can start to crunch through the neck and shrug the shoulders. We want to avoid that. Shoulders moving away from the ears. If we can, biceps wrap forward. That'll allow the shoulder blades to descend a little more. Keep driving through the tops of your feet so your knees lift off the mat. But if you ever feel like you're compressing into your low back, you want to lower back down simply by lowering the elbows towards the floor. Last breath here. And we'll gently lower the elbows. Going to come into a chest stretch here, starting with the right hand side. So take your right arm out at a 90 degree. With the left fingertips pressing into the floor, we're going to take the left leg and lift it up and over. So we're doing our very best to still keep the right hand shoulder as close as we can have it towards the floor. It may lift, of course, but the closer we can keep that right shoulder to the floor, the more we're going to feel this stretch in the right side of our chest. You could rest your right cheek onto the floor here if that's comfortable. We could keep it lifted. Remember, the focus is the chest here, so if it feels comfortable with the head grounded or lifted, it's completely your call. Such an underrated part of the body to stretch out the chest. The tighter our chest gets, the more we feel those shoulders starting to round forward, and then we come into that hunching position, which is definitely not something we want to live in for the majority of our lives. So super important to stretch out through the chest. You may feel uncomfortable if you don't often do it. That's the point. That's why we try to do it a little more often. Last breath. Roll back through center, swapping sides. So left arm will come out at that 90 degree. Right fingertips nice and close towards the face. Then we'll lift the right leg up and over. And you're in control. Head lifted, head grounded, your choice. Trying to keep that left side shoulder as close as we can towards the floor. Hopefully feeling a stretch through the left side chest rather than a pinching in the left side of your shoulder. Last breath. Roll ourselves back through center. We're going to set up for a little bit of back strengthening work here. It's quite challenging to strengthen the muscles of the back in the yoga practice because, of course, we only have the floor to push away from. We don't have anything to pull against. So when I say back strengthening, I simply mean we're going to be activating the muscles in the back here. So fingertips off either side of the mat, elbows nice and high. Push down through the tops of the feet, feel the knees lift. On the inhale, we're going to lift the chest, and I'll only lift a little bit, that's completely fine. Once the chest lifts, float the feet as well. Now I want you to imagine here in a moment that you are squeezing the shoulder blades towards each other, almost as though there was a pen between them. And then from there, imagine the elbows were trying to touch each other behind your back. So there's a strong retraction there in the shoulder blades. We do our best to keep the neck long just by gazing down to the top of the mat rather than lifting the chin and looking forwards. Keep squeezing the muscles of the upper back, keep feeling the elbows draw towards each other, and maybe the feet can lift a little bit higher. Me here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, on one. Set hands down by the ribs, tuck the toes. We are going to take a push-up, so lift the knees first, squeeze the glutes, pull the belly in, and then push straight off the floor, and we'll come back to downward facing dog. Inhaling together through the nose. Gently exhaling the same way. And from here, let your right leg rise up and back behind you, working to keep the hips nice and square. And as you exhale, draw the right knee to chest. As you roll forward, see if your right knee can tap your right elbow, stacking shoulders over wrist. And then lowering your right knee down towards your right wrist without touching the floor. Taking the right knee over to the left wrist. Then rising towards your left elbow before extending your right leg out to the left-hand side. Back heel drops. We'll reach the left arm forwards. Find a fallen triangle, gaze under your left armpit. Push firm through left side foot, right side hand. See if your hips can lift a little bit higher. Maybe even starting to move that left hand towards the top right hand corner of your mat, and that will allow the left side of your body to open and lengthen a little bit more. Take an inhale. And the exhale, let left hand ground, roll back onto the left toes, and then pull the right knee in towards the chest, looking towards your right hand, seeing if right foot can land gently outside your right hand before lowering your left knee down onto the floor. From here, we'll come onto the fingertips, fall off onto the outside edge of the right foot to allow that right hip to open a little bit more. And then we're going to start to move here in a moment. So if you can, tucking under your left toes, we're going to move the left knee backwards just an inch or so to lengthen out more through the front of that left hip. Now from this space, we're going to balance on the heel of the right foot, send the hips back, work to straighten the right leg, the right toes will lift off the mat. You can let your head drop down here. Then we'll come right back to where we were. So we rebend the right knee, outside edge of the foot grounds as the chest lifts. Take a breath in. Exhale, come on back, straighten the leg, drop the head. Take two more like that. Inhale, pull forward. Exhale, take it back. Last one. Inhale, we roll forward. Exhale, we come on back. Then we rebend the right knee. Let your chest lower down to the floor, working to find forearms on the floor. If they don't quite make it and you had a yoga block, you could pop that yoga block underneath your forearms here. Just like we did preparing for Dolphin Pose, press the palms together, flex the muscles of the arms. Now do your best to tuck under your left toes and let your left knee hover off the floor. Quite a strong hip opener here. Stick with it if you can. Keep pushing away from the floor. Keep the back of the neck long. Gaze down just inside your forearms. Be here for 10, for 9, 8, 7, 6, for 5, 4, 3, keep those arms working, 2, and 1. Back knee lowers, press back onto the hands as best you can. Shuffle your right foot over towards your left wrist and prepare your body and your legs for a pigeon pose. So extending your left leg back as much as it will go right now in this moment. I'll work to shuffle that microphone over a little bit. Come down onto the forearms to start with. Keep your left toes tucked under so that you can continue to move your left knee back in space if that works for you. And then if there's space, arms walk out in front. Head and chest will lower down towards the floor. Wherever you've taken yourself, see if you can find a moment to let your eyes close and just focus on that breathing. We're going to work to take just 3 more full breaths exactly where we are. Embracing the inhale. Acknowledging the importance of the exhale. Just one more time like that. From here, slowly walk the hands back towards you. If you can, fall off onto your right hip. We'll swing the left leg around. See if we can set the left foot outside the right thigh. You could use your hands for support here if you want to. If you feel your left hip lifting off the floor, simply extend your right leg long out in front of you, and that will allow both hips to soften down a little more. Take your left fingertips behind your hips. Hold on to your left leg with your right arm. Lift the chest high. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, start to peel back over your left shoulder. Now remember, we want to still keep both of our hips centered onto the floor here. So remember, if you need to extend that right leg out long in front of you, let that happen. As we twist back, let your left shoulder drop down and away from your left side ear, so your neck remains nice and long here. Last breath in. And we'll gently come back through center. We're going to try and keep the left leg where it is for a moment. If you can, rebend up that right knee and watch the screen for a moment. We're going to lean forwards. And you notice my left leg is on top of my right here. My hands are grounded flat. Now in a moment, what I'm going to do is lean forwards, bend the elbows, and work to land back in the lower portion of a push-up or a chaturanga, if you like. So the legs will unravel in the air. It's a little bit of a tricky transition. It's just for fun. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. But if you want to, you're going to lean forwards, unravel the legs, extend them back, find the chaturanga, and then press off the floor for the top of the push-up and come back to downward facing dog. Inhaling together. Let the breath go. And then from here, left leg will rise nice and high, keeping the hips square. As you exhale, knee draws to chest, left knee finds the left elbow, roll forwards. Lower down to the left wrist without touching the floor, before taking it over to the right wrist, up to the right elbow, and then extending the left leg out to the right hand side. Letting your back heel drop, starting to reach that right arm forwards. We go forwards to extend through the right side body. Push down to lift the hips. Think about that right hand moving to the top left hand corner of the mat and gaze under that right armpit. One last breath here. As we look down, right hand grounds, roll onto the right toes, pull the left knee to chest, and look towards the left hand. Left foot lands outside the left hand. Back knee will lower onto the floor. We'll come onto the fingertips, work to adjust, so fall onto the outside edge of that left foot. Let that left hip start to open a little bit more here. We want to extend through the right leg a little more, so we tuck under the right toes, we shuffle the right knee back just a fraction. And from here, just sending the hips back, balancing on your left heel, letting the left toes rise. As the legs straighten, let the head drop. And then we'll reset by rebending the knee, outside edge of the foot grounds, chest will rise. Take an inhale. Exhale, hips back. Inhale, pull forwards. Exhale, send it back. And one more just the same. The inhale, we find the lunge. The exhale, we guide the hips back. And we rebend the knee. We see if the forearms can ground onto the mat. Preparing the arms as though we're coming into the dolphin. Palms press, arms are flexed. We push away from the floor. Then we hover the back knee by tucking under the back toes if we haven't already. Remember to use your block if you feel like those elbows can't find the mat, as long as both of the arms are nice and even. Keep allowing that left hip to open as you press down through the elbows and the forearms here. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, keep the neck long, 6, for 5, keep that belly drawing in, for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Back knee lowers down, press back up onto the fingertips, work to shuffle that left foot over towards your right side wrist, allowing left knee to fall out towards the left hand side, preparing for your pigeon variation, extending your right knee backwards to a space that's comfortable, and working to start on the forearms and seeing if you can find a little more space. So I quite like to find that buoyancy there in the back leg by tucking the toes, lifting and lowering the knee, and finding a space where I'm definitely feeling something, but I'm not pushing it beyond a point where I'm capable of staying. Again, if you have more space, letting your arms extend, maybe softening the head down there. So I'll keep my head lifted off the mat, and now that's just so as not to muffle the audio, because it can become pretty unbearable when the head's down and the microphone's a little too close to the mouth. Take 3 full breaths. Last deep inhale. Let it out. And as you shift your hands back towards you, simply falling off onto that left hip, swinging the right leg around, working to set the right foot outside the left thigh. Remembering, if that right hip lifts, simply extend the left leg out long in front. Take your right fingertips behind you, wrap your left arm around the right leg, give yourself that gentle twist back over the right shoulder. Right shoulder moving away from the right ear, feeling the neck start to broaden and lengthen. Take a full breath in. And as we gently release, coming back through center, keeping left leg on top of right, leaning forwards. So left leg will cross over a little more, like we did before. The intention is to extend the legs back and bend the elbows at the same time, landing in that chaturanga. So we lean forwards, legs extend, unravel, we press up, and come back to downward facing dog. Nice work. From here, shuffle the feet wide, walk your hands back towards your feet, let the toes turn out wider than the heels, then lift onto the fingertips. Take a halfway lift, breath in. From here, we'll bend the knees and start to sit all the way down towards Malasana. Press your elbows against your inner thighs. Push your palms together. Feel your chest ascend, your shoulder blades descend, and your head lift nice and high. And take a full breath in here. Let it out. Nice. Because those arms and shoulders are nice and warm, I'm going to give you the option here to play with crow pose. So start just by shuffling your feet a little closer. Think hip width distance apart. Allow your arms to slide down the length of your legs. See if your knees can find the upper portion of your arms, so above your elbow, more towards your tricep. Keep those glued together. Ribs and thighs glued together also. We want to feel the hips rise, the hands slide towards the feet. As the hips rise and the hands slide towards the feet, still keeping the upper arms connected to the knees, still keeping the ribs and thighs glued together. The elbows hug in. We look out, lean forwards. If that works, maybe one foot lifts. If both lift, point the toes, squeeze the heels into the bum, draw the elbows in towards each other. Navel pulls to spine, belly's drawing in. If we can, we be here for 10. For 9, keep drawing those elbows in. 8. For 7, gaze just in front of the hands. For 6. For 5. 4. 3. 2. And on 1. Set the feet back down. Come towards that Malasana again. Interlace your fingers loosely. Start to roll out through your wrists. Making a few figure eights in one direction before switching it back the other way. Nice work. Set the bottom down onto the floor. Extend the legs out nice and long. And if you can, take your hands either side of your hips for a moment, resting the back of the hand on the floor so the fingers point backwards. Then just gently closing and opening the fingers to allow the back side of the forearms, your extensors to get a little bit more length there. From here, feet parallel, legs parallel rather, feet flexing towards you. Lift the chest, lift the arms, take an in-breath. On the exhale, we hinge forward from the hips. Feel the ribs rest on the thighs. If the feet are there for you to grab hold of, great. If not, just let the hands rest either side of your shins. Extending crown of the head forwards. Letting the back of the neck lengthen. We'll slowly start by lifting the chest. We're going to slide our hips forward slightly so that there's a lot of length of mat behind us. Catching hold of your ankles, let the feet slide towards you as you lower your hips down towards the floor. Now working to find an opening through chest and shoulders. Press down through the feet. Draw the shoulder blades back towards each other. Allow your hips to rise. Interlace the hands behind you. See if the shoulder blades can shuffle together a little more. And then press the palms together if possible. Otherwise, just have those fingertips working together, keeping the thighs drawing in as those hips lift. If we can, we'll be here for 10, 9, 8, maybe those pinkies can get a little closer to the floor. 7, for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and on 1. Gently release your hands. Let your hips lower down. From here, crossing right ankle over your left thigh, letting your head rise off the mat as you reach through to catch your left hamstring. Grip hold. If there's more space, pull the leg in towards the head. Take the head towards the leg. Maybe forehead can find the inner part of your right ankle. And gently release the left leg. Cross your right thigh all the way over your left. Let your knees fall off to the left-hand side as you spread your arms wide. Let the head gently turn to the right. And slowly coming back through center, unraveling the legs and resetting for the opposite side. So left ankle over the right thigh. Reach through to catch hold of your right hamstring. Squeeze the leg towards the head towards the leg. Maybe they meet, maybe they don't, doesn't matter. As we gently release that right leg, we cross the left thigh all the way over the right. Allow the knees to fall off to the right hand side. Spread the arms out. Turn the head gently to the left. And gently returning hips to center, unraveling the legs. Let your knees pull in towards your chest without using your hands. Let your head lift off the mat and take your hands to the back of your head. Squeezing your elbows in towards your knees, drawing your knees towards your forehead. Hugging yourself into that tight ball. Take a breath here. And allow yourself to unravel. So taking yourself down towards your final place of rest. Extend the legs out long. Feet a little wider. Arms down by the side. Knuckles rest against the earth. And feel the arms be heavy for a moment. Arms and shoulders and chest have all worked hard. So we want to feel this sense of softening here. Thank yourself for making the decision to turn on this video. Thank yourself for practicing. You acknowledge always that you have done something good for yourself. Try to be proud of that. As always, From me to you with thanks. I hope to see you again soon. Peace.